Hey all, welcome back to my channel, your spot for DJ mixes and gaming. Well, I just finished watching Halloween Kills, the leaves are falling and dying, the air is colder and nights are longer, which means Halloween is coming. And just in case you haven't noticed, we've kicked off October with a bang with two new Halloween special mixes. The first mix is our third annual Horrorwave DJ mix. So if you're into dark synth and 80s horror movie scores, this mix is for you. Our second mix, titled Hallows, is all dark, creepy lo-fi and instrumental hip-hop with a Halloween twist. Both of these mixes should keep you occupied throughout the rest of October with spooky and eerie vibes. Also, if you have any questions I don't get to on the channel, or if you just want to chat with other subscribers about gaming, music, and whatever else, feel free to join our small but growing Discord, where we also host Wii Online Game Day most Sundays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you don't have your Wii set up online yet, we can help you out with that too. Also, Reconnect 24's Discord has a thriving online game night on Saturdays as well, so hopefully you have time to jump in and help keep the Wii Online community going strong. And lastly, but certainly not least, set your reminders for this Friday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be doing a live Halloween special event where dark synthwave and dark lo-fi beats unite with retro horror games. This is going to be a unique Halloween DJ set experience that you'll only find on this channel, so make sure you join us because it's going to be a fun hour-long spooky time. Okay, today I'm going to be showing you 10 horror games across multiple emulators that are compatible on the Modded Wii. So, not just Wii games are on this list. I've made sure to test out each of these games on emulators running on the Wii, like SNES 9X GX, Nintendont, WiiSXR, etc. I have got a scary list for you guys in the second annual episode in this 10 horror games series. I'll leave the list of game titles and emulators used down below for your reference. So lock your doors to keep the slashers out and light up them pumpkins to keep the ghosts away, because things are about to get spooky. Our first game on the list is The Calling, a Wii exclusive using USB Loader GX or Wiiflow. This first-person survival horror game follows the story of a paranormal website that takes the lives of the people who visited it. You play as a variety of characters, trying to solve puzzles in order to find your way out of the areas you wake up trapped in. Let me tell you, they nailed the spooky atmosphere in this game with distant booms, duds, and disembodied voices. You're always looking around to see what's following you. I also love how the Wiimote is used as a flashlight, and this is how I think the Wii shines. You also carry around a phone, which when you make a call or receive a call is also the Wiimote, where you hear voices, and ghost voices at that. Oh, and dolls, traditional white-faced dolls. Freaking nope. The next game is Nosferatu, which runs on the SNES 9X GX emulator. This is an amazing 2D horror game that I feel is slept on. And let me clarify, this is anything but a Castlevania knockoff. In fact, it's a lot different and in a good way. The mechanics are a cross of the old 2D Prince of Persia games and beat-em-ups. You play as a young man fighting his way through Dracula's castle to rescue his kidnapped girlfriend. This is a great looking 2D platformer with an abundance of maze-type levels to get through. The visuals are dark and dingy, and the soundtrack is definitely eerie, making for an overall vibe you'd expect to feel if you were in Drac's castle. I also want to mention the fighting mechanics. It just feels satisfying where your punches and kicks make connections to the enemies and doesn't feel like a tacked on last minute idea for the game. Now you know I can't do a list like this without including one of the most iconic spooky games created, Luigi's Mansion from the Gamecube, so you'll be using Nintendo. Now, is Luigi's Mansion considered horror? I think that may be debatable, but it definitely does have all of the things you'd want if you're an October Halloween junkie like myself. Ghosts, possessed objects, an old abandoned, decrepit, and dark mansion. You get the picture, right? And the music and sound atmosphere pairs up perfectly while you live through Luigi searching through his empty place just to find his brother Mario. All while cowardly taking on spirits. This game reminds me of Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. It makes for a spooky but friendly type scare. It's a good balance, and a must play this October. Sweet Home, using the FCE Ultra GX emulator, is a game that has a lot of history to it and is one of the few good 8-bit horror RPG games today, at least in my opinion. Have any of you heard of the small series called Resident Evil? If so, well, this is the game that inadvertently started it all. Sweet Home is Capcom's first entry into the survival horror genre. Now, I'll admit, I'm not the biggest fan of RPGs, especially top-down pixel art RPGs, and I know this style has had a huge renaissance within the last few years, but I can assure you, if you do like classic style, then you need to add this to your list of horror games to play this month. You play as a group of people who get stuck in a haunted mansion, and it's up to them to solve various puzzles to make it out alive. Each character has a specific role in the game, so make sure you try to keep them all alive. Like most RPGs, there are random battles you encounter as well as hazards to try and avoid, and more creepy white-faced dolls. Creepy. An honorable mention goes to the chiptune soundtrack this game has. Every bit of the music convinces me that I'm in a huge haunted place and I'm going to have a tough time not being killed in some form. My personal favorite game on this list, Manhunt 2 for the Wii. So you'll be using USB Loader GX or Wiiflow. This is another stepped-on game in my opinion because it was released on the Wii early in its life cycle. I believe it was also on the PSP, but I just feel like this game didn't get the recognition it deserves. You play as Danny, a mental institute patient who breaks out of the facility, then tries to figure out his history since he's lost his memory. Although this is technically a stealth game, its environmental settings, dark theme, and obvious killings make this for a brutal thrasher that to me is borderline horror, especially the opening level. You ever been in an insane asylum where it's been taken over by its patients? Me either, and I wouldn't want to be in that position after playing the first level. The way Rockstar used their camera angles, dimly lit areas with green and red shades of color is genius, and the atmospheric sounds drive home the fact that you're in for some rough times. If it's one game that wins the most satisfying and rewarding use of the Wiimote and motion controls, it's Manhunt. The game teaches you how to use a shank for Christ's sake. I consider this to be the Michael Myers of video games, and for that, I'm indeed calling this a horror game. Our next horror game is Fatal Frame 4, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse for the Wii, using USB Loader GX or Wiiflow. This is the fourth installment in the Fatal Frame series. If you have yet to play a Fatal Frame game, your weapon is a camera which can kill ghosts and spirits. You can upgrade the power of the camera throughout the game, which does more damage. There are lots of puzzles to solve and items to find in order for you to progress in the game, all while traversing dark, scary locations of an abandoned island where mysterious deaths have occurred. And, well, it's Fatal Frame, Japanese horror. It's about as scary as you're going to get on the Wii, plain and simple. Japan knows their horror, and they know their survival horror games. From the moonlit cloudy skies to the darkest areas inside of the buildings where scary masks stare at you while ghosts are standing right behind you, it's about as good as watching the first version of The Ring, and I'm talking the original version. Want some genuine creeps this October? Play Fatal Frame 4, I dare you. Super Ghouls and Ghosts is our next title today, and you'll need to use the SNES 9X emulator for this game to run properly. This is a classic arcade 2D platformer brought back to life with the facelift in 16-bit glory. You play as a knight who has to rescue his princess girlfriend who was kidnapped by the devil. Yeah, I know, savage. The game, although cartoonish in fashion, still holds the dark and scary elements of all things supernatural. From zombies, wolves, ghosts, skulls, rising caskets, it's all there for the Halloween season. The levels and music are definitely memorable too. Upbeat, yet dark and gloomy. It's a nice combination of both that make this game stand out as a classic horror game that everyone needs to play at least a few times. But beware, it is freaking tough. You will die again and again. But hey, Halloween is also about death, right? Enjoy! Our next horror game for this October is Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition. So, use USB Loader GX or Wiiflow for this to run properly. Most people, including myself, consider this to be the turning point for RE as far as modernizing the survival horror genre, and Capcom hits every point of survival horror with this entry. Third person takes front and center while new fighting and shooting mechanics make for a well-polished experience. From the farm towns occupied by infected to rundown cathedrals where evil worshippers do their, well, worshipping. This game will give you chills and make you feel as if you are trapped in a world that you really don't want to be in. Especially when you need to travel back through places you barely survived the first time around. It's intimidating. This is true horror in all the best ways possible. And if you didn't get to watch any scary movies this October, jump into this game and let it do its job. Plenty of jump scares and eerie sounds to be had in RE4 Wii Edition.
Perfect. The big cheese. What?
We're coming to the end with our 9th game on the list, Chakan. For this game, you'll need to use the GenPlusGX emulator. You play as a hunter of evil who grew so egotistical of his skill, he challenged the Grim Reaper himself to a battle. Chakan, the person you play as, does win the fight, but his reward given was eternal life until all evil has been eradicated. In order to break this curse, you have to play through the various levels taking out the most evil of evil, and then you can finally die and rest in peace. Happy ending, right? Seriously though, this game has an amazing variety of stages, with each having its own distinct scary feel, from the haunted castle to the depths of sinking ruins and more. The music is just as fittingly gloomy and lets you know you're fighting through hell. This 2D platformer is stupidly tough though. If you're like me, then you're gonna get frustrated more than a few times. But keep at it, Chakan wields 2 swords in all directions, which makes for an awesome mechanic. Don't let the difficulty scare you, let the monsters and unsettling environments do that part. Alright, Ghosts and Ghouls, our final horror game on this October's list is the first Silent Hill using the WiiSXR emulator. Hideo Kojima. The end. Really, if you don't know his name, well, you should, because he's the king of survival horror games, hands down. And the first Silent Hill is an evergreen title that will always be cherished. The only issue with this game on a modded Wii is that it seems to run a bit fast at times, but then slows to a regular pace. Besides that bug, it does run great. You play as Harry Mason, who is searching for his lost daughter after a car crash. You find yourself in a desolate, snowy setting with no one else around and continue throughout the city while picking up clues. Silent Hill is in every way dark, creepy, scary, off-putting, and morbid. This is a highly recommended horror game to experience if you haven't already. I think the PS1 graphics add to the surreal world, which makes this journey even more strange and uncomfortable. Prepare to be chased by demons and face your own nightmares. This game is in every sense of the word horror. Now that is a great list of horror games that should keep you busy for the rest of October. Let me know of any horror games you like or any horror games that I may have missed for next year's 10 horror games on a Modded Wii episode. Thanks for sticking around, and see you this Friday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our live Halloween special. Feel free to leave your comments and questions down in the comments below, and I will try to get to them when I can. Thanks again for joining me, guys and girls. Happy Halloween.